Now, members of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are known as members of Parliament or MPs. MPs try to resolve the queries and complaints of the constituencies or the area or the region from where they have been selected by raising questions in the Parliament. Government allocates them funds to carry out development activities in their respective constituencies. Functions of Parliament. Now, to achieve welfare of the people, the objectives of the Constitution, the Parliament has to formulate new laws. Now, new laws have to be created according to changing times. There are some laws which become outdated, which have to be repealed. One example of such an outdated law is the example of privy purses. Now, what is the meaning of privy purses? Now, when India got independence, there were a number of princely states that existed. Now, as part of agreement between the Indian government and the princely states, these former rulers were given some kind of payment and privileges. Now, the privy purses continued to be paid to the royal families until the 26th Amendment in 1971, by which all the privileges and allowances from the central government ceased to exist. Now, one part of this formulation of laws is also making necessary changes in the current laws. Formulation of laws is the primary and most important responsibility of the Parliament. Control over Council of Ministers. The Prime Minister and Council of Ministers are from the Parliament. Parliament controls them in a number of ways. Ways like the no confidence motion, which can be passed against the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. It is the responsibility of the Parliament to ensure that the Council of Ministers functions under its supervision. Amendments to the Constitution. The Parliament decides whether any amendment has to be made to the Indian Constitution. The Indian Constitution Amendment Bill is one of the most important bills. The Parliament discusses why amendment is required and decides whether to accept it or not. The Constitution mentions various ways of amending the Constitution. Few provisions of the Constitution can be amended by simple majority. When we say simple majority, we are saying 50%. 50% in the Parliament. Some amendments require special majority, that is, 2/3 majority. There are some other provisions of the Constitution which can be amended by special majority of Parliament and consent from more than half of constituent states. Law-making procedures. Now there are two types of bills, money bill and ordinary bill. Let's see what is the law-making process. A rough draft of the law is prepared initially. This draft or outline is known as draft proposal of the law or bill of law. In order to be converted into an act, the bill undergoes following process. First reading. The minister of the concerned department or a member of the Parliament presents the bill and briefly explains the bill to the House, to whichever House this bill has been introduced. This is the first reading. Next we come to second reading. Now second reading has two stages. In the first stage, the objectives of the bill are discussed with the members of the House and everyone is free to give their opinions. Now the supporters of the bill can give positive opinions while opponents can give faults in the bill. After the discussion, the bill is sent to committee of the House. A committee is created and the committee then submits a report. It contains instructions and recommendations which are then presented to the House. Next comes the second phase of the second reading. In this phase, the bill is discussed clause by clause. Members can suggest changes. After this, voting is taken in the House. Third reading. The bill is discussed briefly again during the third reading. Voting is taken for approving the bill. If the bill gets an assent by the required majority, then the bill is considered as passed by the House. Once it is passed in one House, the bill undergoes the same process in the other House. For example, if a bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha, it goes through the first reading, second reading, third reading. Once the bill is passed in Lok Sabha, it goes to Rajya Sabha. And in Rajya Sabha, again, the same process will start. After getting approval by both the houses, the bill is sent to the President. If there is a difference of opinion between Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha over a specific bill, a joint meeting of both the houses is arranged and the future of this bill is decided. After the final assent and signature of the President, the bill is converted into a law. Now there is difference between rights of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha pertaining to bills. Bills which are then passed and made into laws. Lok Sabha. Now the money bill which is related to finance can be introduced only in Lok Sabha. And Rajya Sabha has limited powers with respect to money bills. If Rajya Sabha feels that as a matter of national interest, the Parliament should make a law on the subject in the state list, it can pass a resolution to that effect. Know this too. Every year in the month of February, the Finance Minister presents the national budget to the Lok Sabha. The state legislatures also follow the same procedure of law making as in the Parliament. So in the Parliament, what was the procedure? First, there was a draft bill created. Then it was introduced in the House, which was the first reading. Then there was second reading, third reading, and then it went to the next House. The same thing happens in the state legislatures also. The bill passed by the state legislature can become a law only after it receives the assent of the governor. So, at the central level, what happened? The bill would be sent to the President for his approval. At the state level, the bill is sent to the governor for his assent. Okay, that is the difference between law-making process in the state legislature and the Parliament, that is the central level. Children, with this we complete explanation for this lesson. Thank you for listening. Goodbye and take care.